Hi, in this video we're going to have a look at the Corona visa extensions around the COVID-19 crisis and how you can apply. So let's get right into it. The position at the moment, at the time of doing this live stream, is that if you're in the UK and your leave expires by the 31st of May 2020, then you can request an extension, and the extension form is here. And it starts by saying that no individual of any nationality whose leave has expired or is due to expire between the 24th of January and 31st of May and who cannot leave the UK because of COVID-19 will be regarded as an overstayer or suffer any detriment in the future. Now, so the first question is, who does this apply to? The current government guidance for British nationals is not to leave your not to leave your home in the UK unless it's for essential travel. So you would be breaching that if you travelled. So is the position different for foreign nationals? Well, apparently so. The guidance links this to travel restrictions. So it goes on to say, if you, okay, let me just read the correct passage. So here, under instructions, if you are not intending to apply to extend your leave and cannot leave the UK because of travel restrictions related to COVID-19, please use the form below to provide us with your details. So that's talking specifically about travel restrictions. Now, if we go down to the actual form, it's just a bit further down here, you can see that when you complete the form and submit it, it says, it asks you to put in your reason for remaining in the UK, e.g. flight restrictions or self-isolation. Maximum character limit of 500. So it doesn't allow you to be very expansive. But there's two examples there then. So flight restrictions or self-isolation. So you can quite understand why, if you had to self-isolate for 2 weeks, let's say, because you had signs of flu symptoms, or someone you were living with had signs of flu symptoms, then that would be a good reason. But what happens after that period of isolation? Likewise with travel restrictions, if it's possible for you to return, but there might be reasons why you would not want to related to COVID. For example, who wants to get on a flight at the moment? You might want to be very careful, particularly if you've got family or children, or indeed elderly relatives. You might be slow to get on a plane at the moment. So would that amount to a good reason? Well, quite a lot hangs on this, because if your reason isn't one of the specified ones, or if it doesn't amount to a good reason under this guidance, then you could be deemed to be an overstayer. So I think this has to be approached carefully, and you need to take advice on your individual circumstances and the particular position in particular countries. Now, I've just got the United Arab Emirates guidelines here, just purely by way of example, but you can see that the government's advice to British nationals here is, the FCO advises British nationals against all but essential international travel. If you live in the UK and are currently travelling abroad, you're strongly advised to return now. But again, what about foreign nationals who are here in the UK? If the position is that all but essential travel is recommended, is warned against, so you can't do any international travel unless it's essential international travel. Well, what about someone who's here from America, Australia, India, outside of the European Union, and their travel home wouldn't be essential travel, but they want to comply with the terms of their visa? Would that amount to essential travel? I think in each case, it's appropriate to build a case around this over and above what you may wish to put in the form if you are applying for an extension. And that case could include factors such as who would need to come with you. Would you be bringing children onto a plane? What is the province within your country to which you're returning? And if you're not relying on flight restrictions or self-isolation, but reasons beyond that, there may be reasons beyond that, but that's where you're in territory where you'll want advice, and you'll need to build a case around that when you submit your form to protect yourself if in the future your reasons for securing the COVID extension are questioned. Now, having said that, it may be that your case is much more straightforward. It may be that it is a matter of self-isolation, or you do have flu symptoms, or there are travel restrictions in place that just don't make it possible for you, in which case it will be a straightforward application. If it's anything more than that, then as I say, I think you'll need some written reasons and something defensible and ideally verified by a third party, just to be on the safe side. So I'm just going to go through some of the specific provisions here with you. So if you're applying to stay in the UK long term, you can apply from the UK to switch to a long-term UK visa until the 31st of May. Now, I think this is likely to be extended. So we've heard that the Prime Minister may relax restrictions from this Sunday onwards, which is positive to hear, as long as, of course, we can continue to have appropriate controls in place. But it's my view that, or my prediction, that this regime will be extended. And I'm hoping that we're going to have sufficient warning of that ahead of the 31st of May, so that preparation can be undertaken. So this is likely to be extended, but at the moment it's only until the 31st of May. You'll need to meet the requirements of the route you're applying for and pay the UK application fee. And this includes those who have already been automatically extended. You can apply online, and the terms of your leave will remain the same until your application is decided. So essentially what this is about is, ordinarily you're required to make an out-of-country application. To, if you're in the UK now, you'd need to leave the UK and make an application from out of the country to re-enter the UK. But exceptionally here, you can apply to switch in-country onto a long-term visa under these provisions. And your application won't be considered while the biometric centres are closed. But while you're waiting for it to be decided, you won't be deemed to be an overstayer. The next point is this confirmation that the UK visa and citizenship application centres are temporarily closed and you can't book an appointment. So again, you can apply online, but it won't be considered until they reopen. Then what about if you've already made an appointment? So it says if you've already made an appointment, you'll be contacted to be informed that it has been cancelled. You'll be advised when you can book a new appointment. And in the case of one of my clients, they were advised to withdraw the application and reapply after the visa application centres have opened. So in some cases, you'll want to lodge the application, especially before a visa expiry date, to show that you've applied in time. But if you're applying from outside of the country, as I say, one of my clients has been told to withdraw and then resubmit rather than simply sitting in the queue. It's be a judgment call depending on where you're applying from. Now the next one is if you're on a tier 1 entrepreneur visa and your business has been disrupted. This is interesting. You no longer need to employ at least 2 people for 12 consecutive months each. The 12-month period you're required to employ someone for can be made up of multiple jobs across different months. time when your employees were furloughed will not count towards the 12-month period. And if you've not been able to employ staff for 12 months in total, by the time your visa expires, you will be allowed to temporarily extend your visa to give you time to meet the requirement. So again, very unusual times. You could have someone who's been in the UK for, for 5 years under a Tier 2 visa, unless they're going through one of the accelerated pathways. They could be here for 5 years and they'd be staying longer than the 5-year period to enable them to accrue the 12 months to meet the requirements. So that's, of course, under the old Tier 1 entrepreneur route. So now most of my entrepreneur clients are under the innovator visas, and some under the startup visa. And then the next point is, if you've applied for a Tier 4 visa and you're waiting for your decision on your application, you can actually start your course of studies. The rest of the provisions are there. The next point is, if you've applied for a Tier 2 or 5 visa and you're waiting for a decision on your application, you can start work. Before your visa application has been decided, if you've been assigned your certificate of sponsorship, you've submitted your application before your current visa expires, and you show evidence of this, and the job you start is the same as the one listed on your COS. So as long as you've got that certificate of sponsorship, you can actually start, notwithstanding your application has not been granted. So that would really be a situation where you're already in the UK and you've applied, for example, to switch from a Tier 4 visa. I can't see how that works in the context of an out-of-country application. And now there's specific measures for students here which are cross-referenced. And I just brought up some interesting points here to share with you. I'll just bring those up in a moment. But basically, for a Tier 4 student, exceptionally, you can extend even from a short-term Tier 4 visa into another Tier 4 visa category as a special concession up to the 31st of May. And you can also switch into a Tier 4 visa category from within the UK, where you would not otherwise be able to. So, and there's also specific concessions for where you have not been able to complete your course of studies or your exams because of the corona crisis, and you're then able to do that. So again, in all of these cases, I would advise making a careful written record of your reasons and any evidence for it, because you've only got that 500 characters to put in the corona extension form. So you'd need to be in a position to defend that. And then there's some provisions here, which I'll just zoom in on them now, for people applying from outside of the UK. So all UK visa application centres are closed. So I did a video about that previously. I have heard very recently that the application centres may be opening soon. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up because we don't know. We still don't know what that means, whether it's going to be a couple of weeks or a couple of months. But I am anticipating a movement on that. And that might coincide with the plans that Boris Johnson sets out from Sunday onwards. So keep an eye on the channel. I'll be doing updates. I'd definitely do an update if there's any news on that one. So getting your documents, due to worldwide travel restrictions, it may not be possible to return your passports. If you're applying for a global talent, startup or innovator visa, so this is particularly relevant to my clients, if your endorsement from an endorsing body is expired because you've not been able to travel to the UK, you may still be eligible for a visa. You should make your application as planned, and we will consider all applications on a case-by-case basis. Now, there's actually contradictory guidance on this from the UK government, because there's another guidance document that says in terms that you would need to get a fresh endorsement letter, but the endorsing bodies that I've had contact with over this just say that they would be content to just issue a new endorsement letter. So it might be, on a practical level, it might be easier for you as a startup applicant or innovator applicant to get a fresh endorsement letter and resubmit your application. I mean, if you cancel your application, and in other words, you've lodged it already, but it hasn't been considered due to the corona crisis, then in some cases it might be easier to simply cancel, get your refund, and then reapply with a fresh endorsement letter. Now, one of my clients is in this situation. We were just talking about it yesterday. I'm just going to make this a bit smaller. So this is the situation where your 30-day visa has expired. So basically, as it says here, I'll just read this out. If your 30-day visa to travel to the UK for work, study or to join family has expired or is about to expire, you can request a replacement visa with revised validity dates, free of charge until the end of this year. But you've got to make the request first. So you've got to make the request now, and then later, once the restrictions are relaxed, then you'll get your replacement 30-day visa free of charge. So just to be clear, this is the 30-day vignette or sticker in your passport that you use to travel to the UK, to then pick up your biometric residence permit in the UK. But you travel to the UK on that vignette. And there's some people who have been caught out because they've applied, they've got their visa, and then the corona restrictions came into place, so they weren't, or locally within their own countries, and then they weren't able to travel. So for those people, you will get a free new replacement vignette at no expense, but you've got to request it. You've got to request it now, and when the visa application centre is open, they'll process that. So if you're in that situation, that is definitely what I'd recommend. And there is here, the Coronavirus Immigration Help Centre. I mean, from the feedback I've had very mixed feedback from this. Some of the, I'm sure they're doing their best. Some of the stuff are helpful and knowledgeable, but not all of the responses have been very informative. So I would make a record of anything you're told when you call up the helpline. But I would still recommend taking legal advice. Good. So I hope that's helpful in summarising how to make a coronavirus visa extension, if you can put it that way, under these COVID provisions. And I hope you and your family stay safe, and I will see you in the next live stream. Thanks. Bye for now.